I like the fact that we can all gather in one place and have something to share about, where we learn about what's going on in the community.
How they deal with, relevant issues and different cultural experiences. We have different speakers, we have week of prayers. So they vary it up enough to make it interesting with good music and good spiritual stuff too. So
it's led by students, and it's not really something that's overly bearing by like the pastors or religious vice or something like that. It's more student-led.
The part where it's in the middle of the week, sort of, gives you a little revival of worship service. So another in touch with God before the next Sabbath.
Yeah, I like the mix. I mean, I can understand how we do the mix between like our worship music today, and we also bring in the hymnals, and I think it's a good combination. I like it.
Something that the whole campus shares, and we can, sit with our friends and have some time with our friends, and also something to talk about with just about anybody because we're all going to have been there. And so when something happens, we can all share those ideas afterwards and discuss it.
It's in the middle of your day, and usually on Friday we have tests, and people are more concerned about, I need to study, and so they're going to be concerned about studying during colloquy.
It's a good study time. It forces me to study since there's not much else to do, really. Most of the time the speakers don't appeal to me, so I try to zone out and study.
It's easy to get, to not care. It's easy to do.
It's so easy.
It's so easy not to care, because there's so many people around, all your friends are around, you've got work to do, it's the beginning of the day. It's boring.
It concerns me when we don't show respect for other people, whether that's a fellow student or a guest who's come on campus. Part of being respectful is being attentive, or at least not being so loud in your personal conversations with people around you that it enables others not to be able to hear. So that's something I think we constantly have to work on.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to PUC Cast. We are starting a very special two-part series that we're going to be talking about campus spirituality this week and next week, which has really become quite a hot issue around campus because lately it's become the opinion of many that PUC students aren't in tune with their worship services anymore, and that they just simply don't care, that they're getting loud, that they're getting rowdy, that things really aren't going as they should be in the house of God lately. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And this first part, we're going to talk about just exactly what kind of problems PUC is experiencing. And then next week, we really hope that you're going to tune in for part two, where we're going to talk about different solutions to some of the problems and issues that are going around with this particular subject matter. So with me for this first part, we have our RVP, Justin Torrosian. And then over here, we have our campus chaplain, Roy Ice, here both joining me. And so we have only so much time, and we have very, very important emails that we want to get into. We had a lot of emails, and it was really hard to choose and edit some of these. So I'm going to just try to get into it and see how many we can get done. So the first one that we got goes like this. We're trying to make the next generation worship in the same ways of previous generations. Large groups don't work as well as in the past, and when you factor in the number of distractions in life, such as homework demands, iPods, PSPs, boyfriends, girlfriends, you see the impact of the distractions and even more evidence. The students have more demands to clog their time, so when you're given the opportunity to just sit, they use it for communication. When you're required to attend a service, there is downtime created by force, and the people choose to use that time to talk to their friends. Now, with that, I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about that particular email. In stuff like, Vesper services or in recent week of prayer services, there has been a lot of talking, especially where you go. And people are kind of more in tune with their friends rather than the actual service. And what do you guys have to say to that? Do you think it really has created by just the fact that they have to sit there?
I think a couple of things. First of all, I think that the winter revival that we just had, the behavior was so markedly different than it was for the fall week of prayer. Mm-hmm. This winter revival, it seemed a lot quieter. No one had to make any announcements up front. Mm-hmm. And so I have seen improvement, but there's always room for more. Right. So I was happy with the improvement. I didn't feel like I had to be the policeman in the back making enemies saying, hey, can you guys please be quiet? But there does seem to be still a continued apathy that I'll talk more about later on.
Okay.
I agree with Pat. I agree with what Pastor Ice just had to say. And still, like he said, there is room for improvement, definitely. And we'd like to see the sound and the distractions, the speaking in the back, at a minimum. What this person said in their email, I found it pretty interesting that they said, you know, when you factor in the number of things in life, like your iPod, your boyfriend, girlfriend, PSP, homework demands, they say it as if those things haven't always been there. And sure, iPods and PSPs, those are new things. 50 years ago, we wouldn't have had those. But there are always things that people would be using to take up their time. I don't know if specifically here they were talking about those things being in the worship services, as in people bringing iPods in and those kind of distractions, which can be definitely a negative thing. But, you know, distractions have always been there. I don't think that in recent years people are any less pleased with requirements for worship than they have been in the past.
Okay. This brings up some topics, like Pastor I said, that we can talk about in just a little bit, but I really do want to move on to another email that is pretty much linked and kind of expands on what the previous email just said. It says, the unfortunate thing about different worship experiences on campus is that this is great stuff for most of our parents' generation. However, it is not conducive to the worship attitude that the students want today. American Christianity, no matter what denomination, has usually been at least one generation behind, give or take 20 years, when it comes to making worship and church services relevant. Thus, the services are rather boring, not so much from what is there, but more in the area of feeling like this is a show being put on and that we're only there to watch. Not really permitted to participate in the dance, if you will, of worship. Impersonal, spiritually unchallenging, and lack of substance when it comes to discovering Jesus, the claims of Christianity, and living out the good news, or any combination of these things, is the problem. One of the things that really struck me with this email was pretty much the word boring and unchallenging. And obviously, I'm only one person, but generally I just look at people and they aren't paying attention and they'd rather talk with their friends rather than paying attention to what's going on stage. I'd probably have to agree with that for some reason they aren't in tune with that. And I'm really interested to what you guys have to say when somebody pretty much says this is why people are turning to their other distractions, like their boyfriends, girlfriends, iPods, and that kind of stuff. Do you agree with that?